Good evening. Welcome back, everyone. I'm sorry. We're just gonna do this today, so I'm sorry, but we got quite a crowd here tonight. Good evening, everyone. See if I can see everyone who are Christian here. We got Revenant, we got Nico, Tech Left Behind, Jam. Welcome, Ted. I am here. I was just joking, of course, realizing it. Usually, I use the time on my smartphone. I figured the smartphone is connected to the cellular network, and it gets the current time. So I use that as my kind of yardstick on when to start to stream. So if that's not always accurate, that's my apologies, but that's the time I go on. So, Ian and Chris, thank you very much for the little care package. That was very welcome. Messing with it already, and I've got plans for it and everything, so I appreciate that. Like we were talking in chat there, it is fun to reflect a little bit on how much we spend on this. There's just really no practical way around like the usefulness of this hobby because it gets expensive. Well, you can get really good deals. So I will say that, people often are very generous, or you can get good deals if you know what to look for. Space may be the biggest problem with this. Yeah, behind me anyway. So that is not a problem with our current card of the night, which is the S3 Virge DX, which is an all-in-one amazing card. And to save some time, I have another RX. There you go. So, yeah, exactly. The spend on this hobby is the worst part. And I think I have like some mental barriers to the limits on what I want to spend on certain objects, which helps me keep in check a little bit. But, like in this case, here, Revan is trying to convince me now that one of my holy grails have appeared on eBay for a substantial amount. And he's trying to push me over the threshold to make me get that. But it is just, boy, that's a lot of money for one computer, which is neat, but not something that I would get the equivalent enjoyment out of for that money, especially when you think of how many other things you can buy, such as probably a boatload of S3 Verge cards. I mean, you can probably buy like a pallet of these for that amount of money. So, Christopher, it is decelerating time. Bleeding edge graphics, yes. I had to make an appropriate wallpaper there for the retro computer, as you can see, the S3 graphics logo. So, the S3 Verge. First off, I would like to say very much thank you to Control Alt Reese or Reese. And he made a video last GPU June on running a whole bunch of these games on the Verge card, and it was a really fun video. And he wrote a awesome post on his website, and I put it in the description as well, on patches and everything and how to get these games running. And I used that article extensively, finding all the patches for this, because it's, it's kind of a hassle to find all this. Some games work right off the bat. A lot of games do not. So, even document everything. Yeah, 4 megabytes of raw power. Yeah. So I think most of us that have retro interest have several of these cards laying around. Let's see if it's in focus here somewhere. Which is the reason why I have another card. There's a card in this machine, and I have an identical card here. They're basically identical. And I think that a lot of people through the retro years end up picking up machines. They almost always have these. Pab 887. And it's just, if it's a Pab 887 there, if you're a user or a bot, who knows? I never know. But I think all of us have picked these cards up, because if you buy pretty much anything from Retro Machine, you'll eventually end up with an S3 Verge card. It's just the unwritten law. And a lot of motherboards with integrated video have the S3 Verge chipset on board as well, usually with less memory, 1 or 2 megabyte, 2 probably. And there we go. These cards are awesome for 2D. I mean, they're very, very good 2D quality. I've always liked these to pair them with a Voodoo. Yes, a Voodoo card, Run 2D on this and a Voodoo. Couple. I think that's a very, very common combination. I think the GX is the step up from the DX, if I remember right. There's really only the memory timings difference. I think that the clock speed on the processor or on the GPU itself is minuscule at best in difference. You can even overclock these, but you gain virtually nothing on 3D graphics from what I've seen. There are ways to get around it, so yeah. I'm not sure. I might start a fire if it's if I'm trying to do anything with a picture like Crisis. So yeah, interesting, especially with some of the old or some of the newer cards that have more features on it, don't always work with the S3 acceleration. Because what happened was, at least in my limited research, I think Reese is probably the rating authority on this now since he tested so much, is that a lot of the support died out pretty quickly because S3D specific accelerated for these games. And for those not familiar with this in general, I should back up too. We are talking, David, we're talking acceleration on these cards, not just 2D, but actual 3D acceleration. And Zoe, I'm not sure if she approves or not, but Zoe, what do you think of this card? See, is Zoe approved? She enjoys it. And there is full acceleration on here. And there was a while. Good evening, Geek with Social Skills, or Sean. There was a while when S3 was actually pushing out an API to 3D render with this card, and it didn't get that far. The feature set is pretty minor, and especially consider this was baked in. This is the time when the Voodoo card came out, right? Like 97 or 96. And you think about what the Voodoo did, but it was still only a 2D card. Or sorry, the 3D card, not 2D component at all. This had both of it baked in, so this would be more like your all-in-one solution, right? So the fact that it had acceleration was pretty impressive, and I didn't know that until, I wouldn't say recently, but certainly not when these were around originally. I had no idea, because why would you run that? And the Voodoo came in and it shook up the market, and there was no room for a budget accelerator. Yeah, that might be a good way of explaining it. It had 3D, and it did 3D, as we'll see tonight. But if you had another option, you would not run with that. And I think in many cases, software rendering may be preferred because it was like half-baked. Some games run really well, actually. Really well. And are an enjoyable experience. And some games run awful. And there's missing features and textures and options and everything. And you have to basically, shoehorn in support into the game to begin with through a wrapper process. And none of it is done, in a sense. That's why I think the Voodoo cards are so powerful, because there was huge support behind the developers once they realized the install base, right? So if you bought a 3D game in the late 90s, it supported a Voodoo card. I mean, it was like almost an unwritten rule, right? And you had to, from a marketing perspective. So that meant that when you bought a game and you had a Voodoo card, you could have a good time. That was it. There wasn't much for anything. So the fact that S3, and all of us, I think, that mess with this stuff get fascinated by the underdogs. S3 was below underdog. I mean, I think the Power VR, Rendition Verite, and those things might be like the parallel API that kind of went somewhere, but kind of not, and this just never got anywhere. Excellent 2D cards still to this day. I thoroughly enjoy using them as 2D cards on any machine. Great 2D image quality. But... Oh, you mean like this Voodoo 3000? Yeah, probably more to that, but that may be one of my favorite video cards of all time, honestly. The Voodoo 3000 is just so versatile. It is so useful in everything compared to this. So, yeah, and I think that I think S3 went in with the OEM manufacturers, right? And I think that a lot of computers, be it laptop or desktops, from a lot of manufacturers in the late 90s had S3 on board. And I mean, this card here has a sticker on it from 1999, which means this card would have been horribly outdated performance-wise. But it's this was just then found in a server or something like that later on, right? So that was what happening, is that a lot of these were bundled with later. So yeah, this is a StarTech fan. This is I think a 50mm fan that fits exactly on here with the screw holes. If you look at the holes, was it 50 or 40? I can't remember. But it's zip tied on here. I did this in one of my videos, and it makes a huge difference in temperatures on the Voodoo 3. So, yeah. As far as the machines, you'll see the spec in a second here when it switches to the regular view. But we're running on a machine. There's a little bit of backstory on this one, because as I wanted to make this video, Control-Alt-Reese article was great, of course. I started thinking of what I need to run this on, and I started using the K62, which has an S3 Virge in it. I should say had. And as I started messing with it, it's running Windows 98. A lot of the driver support and the API extras and everything did not work very well with that, I found. A lot of the wrappers I was using, there may be ways to make it work. It just did not play nice. So I pulled out my HP Lenovo VL, or not Lenovo, it's a Vectra, sorry. out of storage. It's a huge honking one of those workstation towers, and it's always been a very rock solid machine. It's got a Pentium 200 megahertz MMX, 96 meg of RAM, the now S3 Virge 4 megabyte, and then an AW64. So it is a excellent Windows 95 machine with everything that goes with that. This used to have my Voodoo card in it. I bought this machine, actually. I should probably make a video on this machine. I bought it years ago from eBay. It was my first return to retro. I bought it for like $100 shipped. So it was heavy. That was my first return to retro, and I got on the slippery slope from there. So again, the card we're playing on is this, which is the card I have here, which is virtually identical to the card that's in this machine. So it's not the card, but they're all very, very similar. So, but yes, I had to make a little custom background here today for the day in honor. So, yeah, there you go. There's a lot of good options for 2D cards. One that I actually enjoyed a lot too, that I ran in this machine originally, was a Matrox Millennium G200, I think. Not Millennium, the Mystique. Not the 3D one, but the one before that from like 97. Excellent 2D image quality, and it paired very, very well with the Voodoo 1 card. So if I were to be able to get another Voodoo 1, that's unlikely at this point because they're so expensive. Or I should say what I want to spend. What I might instead do is put a Reba 128 or something in it, which has a little bit less of image quality maybe, but still a very capable early 3D accelerator. So, do we want to see a game that runs well first, or do we want to see a game that runs bad first? I'm not sure what people think. Should we go... this is the Windows 95 default installation with extra stuff on there. Yeah. Yes, this is not internet connected, but for those not familiar, okay, we'll start with Quake, which is, Quake would be, well, Quake is a crisis of the era. Quake would be the upper limit of this, right? The settings are turned down and everything. We'll see it here. And I have turned off, I'll show you in a second here. For those not familiar, what I do, I actually have a NAS on my Retro network that allows me access to download the files or get transfers over. And I actually have this also hooked in with a dual NIC from my main computer, so I can basically just copy stuff over, directly from my modern computer to my retro network, my NAS, and then I can grab that from my my retro PC. So that way I can just transfer files all day long. I don't have to worry about burning CDs or anything like that. So yeah, I'll throw a lot of those. I'll make a post or something with the background. So the 3DFX one for my last week, I actually found on a forum. So that one is not one that I made. This one I made myself yesterday, using very state-of-the-art graphics and high quality, whatever. I don't know why I ended up on a mint color. I don't know why, but it felt appropriate, like off somehow. But it's actually a regular 10100. This machine, I don't remember if it has a 10 or 100 NIC in it, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't transfer that much data, right? So yeah, so standard 3Com Etherlink. So, but anyway, we'll run with Quake first. So I did install a whole bunch of S3 games that all have been verified and tested. I ran all these, and I say that, and one of them will break. We'll find out. But yeah, so I'll drop the wallpapers in Discord or something like that. So yeah, we have a selection of games that all are S3 confirmed and functioning, at least when I tested them. GL Quake, of course, is what you're familiar with, is obviously the Voodoo acceleration that you're used to. That is not the case here. So, a couple of things I want to show. Unreal Tournament had S3 drivers? Is that even possible? Huh. Okay. Was it a nice day today? So what I'm doing is, what you can do with Quake is that you can auto-launch basically commands when you launch a game. So a couple of things we're doing here. We have to turn off virtually all the texture filtering. Otherwise the game runs so slow, it's not really playable. And the audio still stutters. I will warn about that. But by disabling these settings, you can actually get decent performance. Now, if you turn the resolution down anymore, you're getting basically into DOS resolution. Oh, ha, I get it now. Cool story. I'll have to try that too. I've just started dabbling with this. with the S3 acceleration and everything. And it's fascinating, too, because there's so few games that support it well. And there really isn't much. I think there's a Savage 4, right? Which I know LGR did on that, too, but I'm not sure that even is compatible, a lot of these things. Because it was so narrow. I would tell you there's no problem at the port now. So it was such a narrow time period, and especially developers had really no major incentive to provide S3 acceleration, right? Because not only was software virtually almost as fast or faster in some cases, it just, there was not enough horsepower to do this. So here's GL Quake, and I apologize ahead of time. This will have crackling audio and stuff because it literally can't even keep up. So we'll check the audio volume here now. First, I'm going to check that it's using the correct, yep. So we're running, as you can see at the top there, S3 Virge mode. Here's Quake. Whenever it loads. Or maybe it crashes. No, it didn't crash. Holy buckets, we have to restart. Ooh. This is a good sign. Let's see if the card is actually imploding. There we go. All is fine. This is probably not good. It ran fine before, so let's do a reboot quick to see if that clears out. Otherwise, we may have a bad card, and then the stream's going to be interesting. See, this card here does work. Yeah, it's amazing. S3 is amazing. It's funny, it worked great when I ran it like literally an hour ago. So, we may have to switch to this card if this card is actually busted. Now, this card had some problems with image artifacts, but image artifacts is better than not running at all. So we'll just restart to see what happens. Okay, because that's probably the fastest one that had. The fastest S3 card there was, I think, right? The Savage S4. Now, I never had it. I really only have used S3 for 2D. I've never really messed with 3D, so... see, I'm overselling it here now. Well, good evening, Pixel. The first thing you missed was that we had horrible graphical corruption in Quake as we tried to launch it, so I'm rebooting. It worked an hour ago, but this is the S3 life. You don't choose the S3 life, it chooses you. And we'll see if we have a bad card or not. But, all part of the experience. We're going to try to reboot first. Now, this is using a wrapper. And, no, actually, this is not using. It's using a direct... Yeah, the direct API. Some of the games won't launch without a wrapper, and you basically have to drop some executables inside of the game directory and launch the game through that. So you basically do S3D run and then target the executable, and then it runs the game with the wrapper. Terminal velocity, for example, only runs in that mode. It won't run otherwise. So it is a typical Virgin ID. Yeah, it was pretty funny, too, because I literally ran this earlier when I tested it like an hour ago, and it ran... I mean, as good as it can. So hopefully the machine is not just overheating or who knows what. We'll try again. It'll work this time, right? You can do it. You can't do it. That's amazing. Because yeah, I ran great an hour ago. Very promising. Awesome. Yeah, so we're just doing this alt-tab thing here when I escape out of it. Look at that. Neat. I'll see how it looks. Rendering. I think the game is running now, at least, right? Yeah, there we go. See, it's fine. It's fine. Look at this. Look at this glorious 3D acceleration. Now, remember... We do have all the filter texturing off because it can't even remotely run at a playable frame rate with that on. So yeah, I mean, we're not pulling any, you know. Look at the guy down there too. I like his smile there. It's pretty good. And it's funny because if you ran this in software, it probably ran better. So when you're running in certain areas, it does actually run pretty decent here, but I think if we can turn off the brightness, we cannot. The menu actually looks like that when you turn off all the texture filtering. So at this rate, you'd probably switch to softer mode. That's why this has the fabled thing of deceleration, right? But it runs. It runs. That's the point we're making here. This is the upper limit, of course, of the S3 for acceleration. And as we'll hear, we will also hear that the audio is kind of glitching. Now, I'm not sure, you know, I don't... Yeah, there we go. We'll have to do that a little bit. That probably helps quite a bit. We'll do it this way. Now, I'm not sure if you can tell, so there's an awful dithering. That's what I don't understand with this S3 here now. If you look in the gray blocky section here, like where I'm pointing right there, it is really dithered. And that's what I found so far. Everything I have messed with the S3 here so far, it is really just has a dithering pattern on everything. So keep that in mind. Now, we're in playable frame rate territory here, and this feels like no sport here. And again, we're running Quake. It is whatever S3 decided it is. It is, you know... Yeah, now it's playable. But again, you probably have a better time running this in software mode. I think a P2... or P2, a P1 200 would run Quake in software mode quite handsomely, so... but we could... Oh, look at that slowness there. It is... I mean, keep it in mind, too. We're talking about a card that was probably not necessarily meant to be a true competitor for acceleration, but at the same time, they made an API for this. They provided tools for developers to program this. You can see on the door there, I'm not sure if that comes across on the stream, but it's super dithered, like it has a blocky texture to it. And, yeah, that's the thing. If you ran this in software mode, it probably would run better than this right now. This would not be a good experience for playing Quake. But it is playable. I think that's the point we're trying to make, right? Right? I love Quake guy down there. He just looks so happy. Oh, the Sega Saturn. I wonder, And it's easy to laugh at it now, like, but think about the Wild West of the early 3D acceleration APIs. You know, the 3D acceleration API Wild West in the beginning, where there was a lot of APIs that didn't make it, you know, until, I mean, Glide just took over completely. And of course, you know, OpenGL, of course, was very strong, and then Direct 3D came in and slowly but surely ate everything away, but it's a fascinating era. There's a lot of different things. And this look, yes, there was a leaked version of the, the Quake port for Game Boy Advance, and that's insane. I'm sure MVG will make a video on it, so... yeah... So what, yeah, Pixel and I have some plans for next week. I'm not sure if you want me to unveil the whole thing yet, Pixel. We can talk about it later or make a tweet about it, but... Is that door closed? Oh, you gotta push the switches. I don't think I've ever gone down here without pushing the switches. I just couldn't see them. The text isn't happening either, so... Now, this is kind of the worst-case scenario, right? It looks terrible, it plays terrible. This is not how GL Quake was intended to be played. Yeah, there we go. And you can hear audio stuttering, too. But, it is playable. We're currently playing on your run-of-the-mill S3 2D/3D card, and we're playing Quake. Maybe we set it to... Oh, yeah! The performance is exceptional. Now it looks like Game Boy Advance. Hang on, I gotta lean in so I can see this. I literally can't see the screen. This is when you know that you're just gonna have to wait for your computer upgrade to play Quake. Because now if we go to full screen again... yeah. Yeah, it's unplayable at that point. But it's playable. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Heck, I just married my wife to sneak into the country, so, you know. I'm playing the long game. I figure sooner or later I'm going to have to break the news to her, but been a decade and a half, so I can't see anything. But of course, now I'm just playing Quake again, so it's like it is a proof that it's playable, and something I think that I feel like we miss a little bit as retro enthusiasts now. It's like it's easy to, you know, play Quake with the max settings or whatever Voodoo card or acceleration you want. Plenty of options and easy to play that in max performance mode or max quality and high performance, but a lot of time you didn't have access to that. And not everyone had a 3D accelerator, not everyone bought a Voodoo card right away, so yeah, that's the thing. You had to justify, like, if you're... So the question is, if you had this sort of machine... so yeah, I have it disabled. We can try and run it with filter textures, because it may not be a good time, but we can try it. So, actually, what the recommendation was in these... And there's actually a set of drivers for this that's called Universal Fast Drivers that Reese pointed me to, which is Virge Super Universal Driver. It has a Quake patch information here. So this driver is specific for Quake. This is after... This is not made by id Software or anyone. This is a fan-made, so... So they recommend you disabling the settings for increasing performance. Now, we can remove that, and then we'll see what happens, and we'll see what it may mean. It will not be an enjoyable experience, but in the sake of experimenting, we will try it. It will look like Voodoo almost. Actually, the image quality is quite good at that point. However, the frame rate probably drops into the single digits pretty quickly. Let's see what happens. Let's see, I need to copy that, open. And so what I'm saying mostly is that we take for granted, like, playing these things in a smooth performance with high resolution and everything. You know, guess I want to save changes. All right. Go for filter textures. It is capable of it. Capable of it at speed is an entirely different thing, and I would not recommend this. I'm just gonna do this because I don't think it will ever load. In fact, it did not load. That's weird. Something must be wrong there, because when I did this originally, it did work fine. Yeah, look, we have filter textures. We just have very, very demon-style gun here now. It's not playable at all, but... Good evening, Sucro. Ian Michael Dale. And you can still see that checkerboard pattern there. That's like the dithering going on there. But we do have filter textures, for sure. There's texturing going on, but clearly there's a problem. That makes me wonder if this card does have some problems or something with memory or who knows what. Because the texture problem was not apparent before. Now, we'll see then how games run as we go to more practical games to play on this, but, you know... Now we're running Quake with filter textures, and it is even slower. But again, you know... Uh-oh. Blue screen of death, that's not good. Well, it looks alright now, but I think you'd still... Quake 1 in software rendering mode is quite charming. And I think... Yeah, boy, this is just having a good time here. It might be the version of the S3D thing I'm using that's a problem. Yeah, because you can run a 640 480 if we're completely nuts. Let me try something real quick, because I had... There's basically a S3D executable that sits in the Windows folder that I'm going to rename this to .old standby. I'm just going to try something real quick. We're going to run it at full power, and we're going to see what happens. Not full power, but, you know, full settings. So we need the S3D patch. There we go. Copy here. And now we're going to run Quake at 64 x 480. And we'll see. This then, the settings you're going to see now would have basically been what you ran what you run on a Voodoo card, right? The Voodoo 1. 640 by 480 with filter textures. I apologize for the flickering in the bottom there now. We won't playing this long anyway. I don't think it will do this very well. And I think we're giving the S3 a bad rap now. There's some things that are impressive with this, for sure. This is... Oh, my goodness. There we go. Now we have full everything. This would have been what you played. You know, if you stand still, it looks... I fixed that flickering. That's annoying. Let's see. 640 by 480. Damn, I fix the flickering. All right, good enough. So what you're seeing now, of course, is we're not even on full screen yet. There we go. This is... Yeah, look at this. You could put a screenshot and say, like, we have acceleration. Look at this. We have filtered textures. And, you know... Oh, wow. Very nice, Christopher. That's awesome. I'd like to play that at some point. I'll probably get it on sale, but... yeah, like, if you don't play it, it looks great, right? But as soon as we move now, I mean, we're... It's moving, but you see... You did filter textures, but it also tells you a little bit, like... Think about putting this on a Voodoo card now. I mean, it ran at 60 FPS basically, and super smooth and everything, and ran well. And it blew everything else out of the water, at least as far as I'm concerned. But image quality-wise, I mean, it's there. I think it looks quite good. But that doesn't help if you can't play it at all. So now, how small do we have to make this to make it playable in this setting? Alright. There we go. It looks, now we're like in the teens, right, FPS, so this is playable, but tiny. But as far as like image quality and feature set there, like, I guess it's there. That's as small as it goes. This is as small as it goes, and we're still not on acceptable frame rate. So that's why you pretty much have to turn off all the filtering and all that good stuff. It looks like this particular S3 driver does better with Quake than the other one, which is why we had such graphical corruption, I think. But playable-ish. It can, depends on how many years you have to do it. Man, how long it would take to calculate one array from that. So there's GL Quake. Runnable. But we can try something else that I thought was actually quite impressive. Though when I played it, it's fully actually playable, which is Descent. Descent has built-in S3 support, which is pretty impressive. Oh yeah, the screenshot would definitely be the full size and everything, and they're like, oh, look at this, it looks, you know, rendered and everything. Yeah, that's true. We're playing out even smaller stuff. No sound. Okay, there's sound. Prep for Descent. And this impressed me. Oops. This impressed me quite a bit. Because here we're running, well, the resolution's all over the place. Standby. 840. This is reporting at an 848 by 480 resolution. My capture is just like, what is this? But I would consider this to be impressive. Because here now we're using the power of the S3, and sure, I mean, Voodoo will be faster. But it looks alright. It runs, you know, decent. Within reason. There's a lot of, like, random issues, but the volume's pretty low. There we go. This would have been a playable experience, I would say. You know, if you didn't know any better and you started using this like this, Now, I would probably prefer to play it in software than this. I mean, truth be told, but it is playable. You have some... I don't think we have color lighting. You can see that heavy checkerboard pattern or dithering going on still. Yeah, I don't think we have... There's no color lighting. It just lights up where it hits compared to the Voodoo. There's extreme popping. And also, of course, not nearly as fast. But, playable. Considered more playable than Quake. Now, this is, of course, you know, quote-unquote, maybe not as complex engine as Quake, being a complete 100% 3D engine, but... I mean, now I'm almost forgetting that, you know, when playing on a S3 acceleration here, and this machine, of course, will run software just great. I mean, no problem at all. Yeah, you do have a little more filtering going on with textures. This will run it. I mean, we're running a 640 by 480-ish. I know that we have a big black bar at the top there because my capture is just like not. Yeah. Huzzah, on the verge of playable. You should probably trademark that, yeah. I'm a little curious why it's reporting. It's a really odd resolution, yeah. 848 by 480. I would think this would be 640 by 480. Let me try something real quick. Stand by. That is not 640 by 480, and it's not that, so... There we go. No, that's still not right. That's weird. That's a bizarre resolution. That is weird. Gotta be the 720. I'm messing with the stuff I shouldn't be messing with now. Don't touch that dial. That's the problem, is when you're messing with stuff like this, the resolutions are all really oddball, and the refresh rates are oddball too, because it's an S3 card, so... Okay, let's see. This is weird. Really weird resolution. And we're almost in spec here now. Almost. Yeah, I don't think that's right, but it does work. But I can show you software mode real quick. It will capture up here when it's... you can also change some of the detail levels. So I have it on low right now. Instead of the highest, you're going to run slower. But it does work. But I can show you software mode now. You'll see the difference where it actually runs decently. So what I have to do here now, I actually have to use a wrapper. And you can see I'm using st3 run, which then tells it then which executable to run. And this is all thanks to Rod Reese's great work on his blog. So if we run the game now, using just software mode, you'll see that it runs actually pretty well. Register later. Clearly, Verge took off after this. Verge 2. We get that weird, heavy rock industrial soundtrack to descend to, which always felt weird to me. Like, it should have been like, I don't know, more haunting instead of just like pumping stressful rock. That was just me, but now we're gonna hang around in Descent 2 too long because we played that extensively when I streamed it specifically, but running at DOS resolutions now, of course, at, you know, full speed, no problem. This is no problem at all, and it runs extremely smooth on a machine of this caliber with the DOS resolution. And I think this is still a very fun way to play Descent. I think Descent really went all out on having support for like everything. Oddly. Like, they have support for every 3D driver and who knows what. And I think it was for the Windows 95 release there. So let's try it again with the acceleration. This time we'll set the settings to high. You see I'm launching the executable there. I'm going to leave the weird resolution in place here. I'm not worried about where it's shifted here now. But we're going to option set the detail levels to max, highest. Because I don't know... Oops, that's not what I wanted. I'm going too fast. Detail level, highest. I was going to look at custom. So yeah, object, filtering is high. What does setting it to low do? Okay, well, it just switches over to the left. So we'll go to detail level highest again, and we'll see how the game looks now. Yeah, and I think the problem with the GX2 is that a lot of these games that uses the S3 API are not compatible with the Lua card. So it's not like just a raw performance thing. It just doesn't work. Now we're running at what I would consider Voodoo quality, and it looks quite nice. And it looks, you know, Voodoo-ish. But, sorry, this is bugging me. You guys have to deal with me messing with this. Our resolution is 480. .862. All right, that's weird. Stand by. Good enough. Now that's locked in, and my capture software will automatically know to set this setting every time I get into this really oddball resolution, but it's bizarre. It is 848 by 480 is what it's detecting as. That's why the capture is just going derp. And now, you know, the case we made that this is still playable, now it looks like a Voodoo card. And I mean, the frame rate is low, but it's still passable, right? I imagine in a big open area, this would be very difficult to play, but I think we had a bit of a higher tolerance on frame rates back in the day, too. When the game ran, it was like, oh, cool. You know, we didn't mess around with frame rate too much. I think you can shrink the viewport here, too, right? Yeah. I make it quite smooth. So there we go. Now we have actually full set of acceleration here with all the good stuff and the filter textures and everything. Door open. Ooh, look at that. That's what the headlight is. Afterburner. More than playable, honestly, at this rate. The question is then, would you have sacrificed viewport for this quality and speed? What do you have to, what would you actually get rid of? But I think it highlights, again, Parallax Software just threw the book at this as far as, like, what options to include. Because, I mean, this supports, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Descent 2 supports almost every standard from the era. Like, it has just support for everything. So now we're playing with max settings. This is as good as it can look on this card, and I mean, that's not bad at all. The Voodoo would not be slowing down as much, and you'd be able to run full screen, but that is not the case here. I'll let you know when we change games. Yeah, and it did 2D as well, right? It's something to remember, is that if you had this card, especially if it came, you know, on your machine pre-built or something like that, odds are, you know, you might have already had this card in your machine. I don't know how many people invested in buying a, you know, S3 Virge DX retail. I'm not even sure it was sold directly in retail, but as soon as we get to some of the open areas, and Descent 2 gets a little complicated later on. It gets pretty big, wide open areas. Not big, wide open areas, but I remember playing it on the stream a couple times ago, and it was pretty complex geometry, but more than playable at this rate. We can increase the view size, and then we sacrifice performance, but I think, honestly, I might have still played the game like this. I wouldn't know any better, right? I would just play it and enjoy it, and now we're rivaling Voodoo besides speed. I would say from image quality perspective. And that's not something to scoff at either. How's the map look? Looks fine. Enter shield converter. I think it even has... Does not have the cockpit mode. That is not available in acceleration. That is only in software. Bit of a bummer, but... Now, what you're lacking is, it looks very dry. Look, as I'm shooting a laser, there is no light at all until it impacts the wall. I believe, unless I remember it incorrectly, the Voodoo version will have a color lighting effect fly along with the laser sitting. I mean, we're like, you know, in the teens and sometime going up to 30 FPS here. More than passable. I think once you get too much stuff on the screen, it's going to just drop like crazy. But right now, it is playable with a good quality. Now, can we... Alright, we have to, like... See, there we go. There's options. Options menu, F2. If we set the detail level to lowest, how does that impact our visual fidelity? And now it runs... I think this is probably how it would have run, I'm guessing. You have some extreme pop and a little wobbling. Oh, look at that. The PS1 call, once their texture's back. Look at that. Yes, a very good point. You don't really need super high quality when it doesn't look that realistic in that sense. You know, cel-shaded graphics can get away with more. Like, you know, Wind Waker's held up really well because it has that cel-shaded graphic. I think it looks really good nowadays. That is extremely wibbly. Now, the question is, if we set the settings back to max, does it stop the wibbly wobblies? Not really. It's still undulating in an unsettling way. I didn't realize that the Descent 2 was like kind of like this Geiger-esque body horror game, but here we are. Yeah, now we get into the big areas here, but honestly, still very playable. It's choppy. I don't feel like the controls are unresponsive or anything like that, so this may be the most impressive showing of the S3 Virge DX we will see tonight. You know, it is what it is, but... one of the games I tested, it might be this. I think it actually has a setup utility where you can configure some of the... let's see, is it... What's the save here? Save game, Alt F2. Because one of these games has a setting, and I was messing with it and I already forgot. I don't think it was this one. It was another game I was messing with. It doesn't matter, but it had you can set some settings with perspective correction and filtering and everything. But, you know, I think that so far Descent 2 is certainly playable on S3 Virge DX. More than anything, but... let's switch to a different game that's very different. We'll do... I don't know what happened here. It's still not a flawless experience, and we're kind of dealing with the crop of the crop here when it comes to the stuff we're messing with. So take that as you will. We're not going to be seeing anything more really than what you've seen as far as graphical fidelity. All these games have been tested and they do work. And it's passable in many of these games, but as you start getting into the bottom of the barrel with some of these games, the experience could get really bad. Some games have to have very low settings, very low resolution to make it even playable. And you just saw Descent 2 may be the high point. So, but Croc is a nice little platformer that I think we played on the PS1 stream for the Mister. But there was a PC release, of course, as well. And this is another one of those early 3D character attitude things from the 90s, right? The mascot era of platforming. And we see some things kind of falling apart a little bit, especially around textures and objects. We'll see that in other games as well. You can see the block around the object very easily. So, this is S3 acceleration in Croc. Legend of the Gobos. And as you can see, the texture's already having some problems. I think, I'm not sure if there's any options here for display, yeah. Screen resolution is lower, to make it run better. Super lighting, normal, medium. Normal is basically off. Filtering is off. We can turn that on. We'll see what it looks like. How it plays. Even solar. Unless I missed you arriving earlier. This is a charming platformer, so. But that's a very low volume. Their way to. I'm hesitant to. There's no option there. I'm hesitant to. Good evening, welcome. I'm hesitant to set the volume on the capture higher because that is very low, and then it will basically blow our eardrums out when we switch. Let's look at the, not the controls. Audio. Probably no music, I guess, so. I could just be the version. But there we go. Now we have some audio, can actually hear stuff, so. That's right, I wasn't the, they wanted to make this Yoshi, you're right. And then they got rejected. That was interesting, and they made their own games. Like, fine, I'll just go make my own game. It's fascinating. It's a platform. I don't know who owns it now. Why it hasn't come back. Now, you get the whole thing. This is a kid game, right? So the question is, would you care that it ran dog slower like it is now? Because a PlayStation version at this rate, with this acceleration, would be far superior. You're probably better off doing software, I imagine, at this point. I mean, it's still playable, but we can turn down some settings to get better performance, of course. Which apparently you cannot do in the menu, or if from here you have to restart the game. Whee! Yes. With strippers and blackjack. Because, yeah, this is, I mean, we're probably in the mid-teens frame rate and lower sometimes here. Playable, but again, you probably have a better time just doing software, right, I would imagine. Splat. Kapow. Oh, perspective on 3D games can be challenging. Especially when the shadow is pretty... Oh, whoa, I didn't realize that would break. That's not cool. I mean, as a kid, you probably would enjoy this and care, but, you know. Yep, that's true. 30 was just, like, I mean, a lot of the platform, especially coming from, you know, your PlayStation era and everything. Most of them did not run at, you know, your 60 silky or whatever. Now, that was the case for a lot of console games on... Come on! All your crocky butt up there. Yay! Hard to control, too. I mean, we're looking like a PlayStation game now, right? Which, you know, what it is. Oh, it's so hard to control this. Did I get that thing there now? But, you know, playable. We could try setting some settings down again, but that means going back to the menu. The cardinal sin of any game to not allow you to... I think I got the heart over there now. Forget this. I'm not allowing you to change any settings without exiting to the main menu. That is not okay. Should never be okay. You know, I understand it's probably harder to program things to get it working properly to do that kind of stuff in the menu directly in the game, but I hate having to leave to... Yeah. Now this is running very slow, but Again, you're probably just stuck with software at this point. We have filtered texture on, but it's just... I just can't see anything with the perspective here, and we're getting some graphic glitches and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of games from that era and stuff like that that did not run. Let's try and... I wish I could change the menu settings. This is using the S3 API, so this has an S3 wrapper patch specifically. I think it... Well, actually, I think it's included. Let me look. Thought... Croc is S3D compliant right out of the box. Only version 1.0. I think you mentioned that too, is that you can't use a newer version. Updated version basically does not work with the S3D settings. So if we go to display setup now, you can do the lighting there and you get a little more interesting. We can turn off filtering, filter fix off. You can tolerate, welcome. We can also turn down the resolution, but now we're at the point where it's almost like, you know, near unplayable, so. But the lighting without lighting on looks pretty normal, medium. See if it runs any better now at all. Disabling some of the filtering might help, but yeah. This is not exactly the best way to play this game, and again, probably would have been better just to play it with... Yeah, it runs about the same. This looks darker now. Probably it's better to play this in software mode, honestly. Again, it's one of those, like, possible. Yeah, when you get to 320 by 240, we can try that, but you're getting so low, you're basically in DOS resolution, right? And at that point, from a 3D platform perspective, you do miss out on a little bit, I feel. That would probably make it quite playable, but of course, as you can tell, we have texture problems and everything, too. And this supported S3D out of the box, again. You do not have to patch this. This is official support, which tells you a little bit something, too, but... What did it end up at? 320 by 240. There we go. It's not horrible now. Got that weird 848 by 480 again. It's weird. So this is basically as low as we can make it, and we're not too far from like 240p here now for like a DOS game, right? Or for a PlayStation 1 game. Let me fix the capture quick. It's the problem with all these changing things. I think it's the weird resolution and the timing on the video is causing it to basically read it incorrectly. Get it decent at least. Perfectionism coming in here now, but once that's configured, I don't have to go back to it now. So there we go. So now we then have 240. I mean, we have the lowest resolution we can in this game, and I mean it still looks all right. I mean you're not too far off what it would have looked on PlayStation 1 at this point. So, but now it's actually running faster. So, but you can see the extreme like checkerboard or dithering going on again, and that's what makes it a little harder to swallow, I think, because it looks odd. But clearly this runs as fast as it's going to now. It's still a charming platformer from this era. But even here, it's running sluggish. I would imagine this game would run better in software mode than even this here. But I believe when you install this, you have to set it up using the specific API. Let's see if we can change the software mode just for comparison's sake. But, you know, this would have been more than acceptable, even though we have some weird transparency issues going on there with these objects. You can tell around. There's just... Yeah, we made it through. Yeah, and I think I will do at some point. I think it's a software stream where we play a range of well-known accelerated games in software mode as kind of an ode to it, like, you know, Half-Life and Emerald Tournament and games like this. Whoa, get away from me, you weird worm. Whee! um, yeah, this is acceleration. It's way better than number 9, Imagine. It's got acceleration. Good evening, welcome. So we're playing on S3 accelerated games here now with mixed results, so here at least it is running at this setup. It's not bad, so I think so. I mean, it's just it's a neat and quirky platformer. I have not played it very far, so I think if you enjoy this sort of character platformer from this era, then absolutely. It's got a certain charm to it. Like many of the platformers from that era. But I'm wondering if the PlayStation 1 version was better. Yes, Doppler. We did actually play Quake. That was the first game we played. Quake is possible to run with S3D acceleration. Now, thank you very much, Revenant. I appreciate it, as always. We can play MechWarrior 2 next. That is a game that actually runs pretty well on here. So, unfortunately, I don't know all the keyboard commands for running MechWarrior 2, but we'll figure it out. But I appreciate the donation, as always. Now, I would say this game would be definitely playable. I mean, if you're a kid or something in this era, and you fired up this game or whatever, played it like this, I think it would be more than enjoyable. I mean, of course, slow running in some spots there. Ow. Ooh. But, yeah, it's not very fast. I need to realize the audio is probably still pretty low. When I hear the glorious, what, this little... Why is there lava here? What purpose does lava serve? Yeah, and of course then, like we mentioned earlier, this was a Yoshi game pitched. Nintendo said, nah, we're good. So then they made Croc instead. Like, that's where it came from, right? So... Come on. Yippee! Save the dude. Oh, I need all those. Forget that. Speedrunning! But the lack of transparency is definitely annoying and weird there, so... Yeah. Interesting. Do you have the name of that engine? I have no idea what this runs on. This looks like, you know, your standard 3D character platformer from the era, so I have no idea or reference to it, so... yeah, even here with the lowest settings now... I wonder if I can get this to run in software mode instead. I'm curious to see what it looks like in software, because at this point now, acceleration doesn't really give us anything. And they did that Cadence of Hyrule recently and stuff like that, and they're doing more, like, stuff like that, you know, than Nintendo used to. Click. Made it. 8 clients. Oh, wow. So he's like multi-farming or something. I gotta pick one. Oh, I see. And I lost it. That last shuffle there was... I mean, pure skill. It was not pure skill. Yeah, it's got very much that similar feel to it. It is very much a 90s character platformer. I mean, there's no way around that. All your games from that era. Which has made a bit of a revival, too, lately. There's a lot of those games that you can... I forgot my things I was going to say. We can push this block. What are those things? Creepy. A platform coming back down? Yeah. Oops. This is a weird one to play on a keyboard, I think, a little bit. I'll see if we can try software mode. Just try that real quick and see the difference. Because, I mean, a lot of time, that was when it came with the whole decelerator thing, right? Was it really worth to play these games in accelerated mode? Because it is just not very fast. So, yeah. We have Croc Run, Croc 3D. I think we are... Because I don't remember if that's something you do with the installer. Change driver settings. There we go. So here you can see all the settings you can actually pick. Glide, which we don't have. Software only. This is the one I was thinking of, because you can actually do settings here. Which is not... We're using a wrapper then to run it. Pretty sure. Look at this. Now we're just doing Croc Run. You can change the settings. But we can do software only. And 3 threading by 200. That's weird. It used to be there was a setting there when I was playing earlier for S3 specifically. There's another one. A lot of these have a lot of different settings. Hard to keep track of. There we go. Now we have... And it seems to run pretty... Single pixels. I did download the oldest version of it, actually. It was running in with the S3 mode. I'm pretty sure I got the... That's the thing, I messed with it. I could have sworn I installed this. It had an S3 selectable mode specifically, so... I know what you're talking about with the running of the, just using the Direct 3D, but yeah, this will be much preferable in software mode. I have to look and see if I can find the settings, because I very much specifically remember selecting S3D. Practice mode. I say that all the time, but there's no one who gets that reference, so... Ow. Yeah, this would be much more preferable to play. But I know you're talking about Pixelator. There should be a setting specific for S3, and I could have sworn there was one when we launched it, so... Ow. But yeah, this would have been preferable, I think, in software mode. It looks smoother and everything, but let's take a look at those settings there again. Because it looked like we were running Direct 3D mode there. But I think with the wrapper file in there... Oh, yeah, there's an S3D. So what happens is that it basically points to the S3D file to do this. Yeah, I could have sworn there was a setting in here for Croc. Yeah. Yep, I very much, like, remember, unless it updated somehow. Yeah, that's the thing. I could have very much sworn this was the version 1, which doesn't say here. I must be running the newer one. That's weird. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I downloaded that version. That's bizarre. Um, I tried it. I literally tried it, and remember seeing the option for S3D directly in there. So that's really odd. Because if we uninstall it, I can reinstall it and take a look too. Because this is using the one that Reese actually used. We remove it. See, if you choose the S3 life, you're also choosing the tweaking life. Nothing will ever actually just work off the bat, so. We will delete that directory completely. Box, there's nothing in there. And we'll double check we have the Croc mounted. Too large to open. Legend of the Gobbos release 1.0. Because I grabbed the one that Reese actually mentioned specifically. Do this real quick and try. I don't have extreme rock climbing, yeah. I think you use it all the times. Every time I see practice mode, that's the first thing I think of, practice mode. As a great callback. I wish I had something similar that I can call back to. I guess the lava thing. Full installation, take that. Yeah, exactly. When you get to that kind of stuff, the ones that aren't 3D rendered like this, then the S3 cards really are good. Like they're let's not ignore that fact. They are fantastic 2D cards. So DOS gaming, awesome cards for that. We'll see here now for us pulling everyone's leg, but I could have sworn it had the S3 mode selectable in the setup here. So I'm not sure, because that, you're right, Pixel, it does look like the newer version, which does not have the selectable individual things, but I did not patch this game at all. This was stock. I downloaded it from archive.org and from where Reese was pointing to and installed it straight up. That's it. I didn't patch or do anything, so unless I managed to mess something up somehow, but we'll try again. This is running on the hard drive, all of it, so it shouldn't take too long. And we'll switch to MechWarrior 2 here soon, which does work correctly. The one thing I couldn't get to work was the specific driver settings for this. There is a tool set that allows to have an extra setting tab in the display properties, and I could not get that to work. I couldn't get it to run, so I may have the wrong thing or something. Well, I wonder if there's one thing. I switched out a file when I was messing with the Quake one. I wonder if that's the problem, because the DLL file I dropped into System32, or into System, uses a newer or a different version than the one that we're using. I switched that one out because of the texture problem. So let's try that. Once it's done copying this huge installation. I was installing Descent 2 earlier, and the crazy installation size was 280 meg. I'm like, well, call me crazy. I'm going to do it. Like, I forget, like, when we had so little hard drive space and we install stuff on it, and we'd have so little space that we'd have to use. Finish. Nope. So let's try this again here, because this is what happened here. I replaced this file. So where is that then? There it is. It seemed like that particular version worked best with the other game there. But let's try Croc here again now. Where's it? Fox Interactive, Croc Legend of the Gobbos. Yeah, drive display settings. Yeah, that's weird. This is the default one. And I could have sworn it had that directly in there. So does that need program files, box, Croc? That's the version of this file, because the S3 settings are right there. So this was modified 1997 there. And this is the file from Reese's bundle, which is older. Yeah, it's weird because it doesn't have... Well, I'm not sure if it's going to Direct 3D or what it's doing there, but yeah, it looks like it's doing that, so... Yeah, I think a budget build will be fun, too. It's like, not everything has to be the high-powered, top-of-the-line, right? So it could be fun. Oh, that didn't work at all well. That's weird. It is using the first original version of the game here, so in theory it should be using the S3 from a selection. Croc. Yeah, I could have sworn I did this. And, oh. No. Yeah, I know I did this. I really remember picking S3 here. And this is the version 1.0 that's on here. And it's the same version I downloaded for that Reese had. And I did this like yesterday. That's bizarre. I played the game too, so I'm not sure where the S3 option went. But I believe that you wouldn't even have the Voodoo compatible options here, right? So, oh well. That's Croc. Good times. That's the thing with S3. It's picky, and you have to mess with it a lot, so... Alright. Let's get the MechWarrior 2 in here. Already launched, there you go. This is the S3 specific version of the game. There's no like, oh, which patch are you using? No, this is the S3 version of the game installed, so... Now that's loud. Look at that display size of that video. It was really cool. MechWarrior 2 came bundled with my Righteous 3D. Kablooey! I've done so many mech games of varying quality, and
warning, ammunition level critical. Weapon depleted.
Alpha Assault, this is HQ. What is your situation?
oh no, he blew up. All right, see you later, Pixel. Thanks for stopping by.
Alpha
Yeah.
Assault, this is HQ.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, the AGS, like we talked last time, the 101 is really the sweet spot for stock ones, so. I know virtually nothing about the MechWarrior universe, so I'm going to make people mad or sad. Just want to get and shoot some robots. Sorry, not robots, mechs. I'm sorry.
We are Jade Falcon, great among the clans. We are warriors who fight with the strength of the Falcon's claw.
So much story. I really enjoy the fact the window is so tiny. A lot of times they would basically interlace it and blow it up so you could see more, but this is just like the standard resolution, progressive, and tiny.
His chosen, and urges us onward with the promise of evil. We will retake what is ours by right.
Yeah. That's the thing, I have several boxes of MechWarrior, and I've played several of them and I never got very far. I like the concept and everything, and it's cool. Just never really got into it and played on them, so. I think it maximizes once we get to inside the game, so. Accept. Ooh.
Accessing.
Well, we don't need that stuff. Cadet training. Yes, that's me. Look at all this stuff. Nav computer, you set to locate nav points and adjust mech handling, weapon usage. Alright, we'll start with the basics. I just want to see, just see how the game looks, because it actually runs pretty decent on the acceleration here. Look at this.
Welcome to training, Cadet. I like to think of this lovely place as my home. Now, you wouldn't even think of upsetting me in my home, would you? Of course you wouldn't. So do what I say when I say, and I won't get upset. I do bad things when I'm upset.
You have shown
So,
the
what do you say we do a little
basic
nav
skill to listen to my
computer training?
commands, like my dog. I like
Do
my
not
dog.
just
You
sit
two
there,
should
Cadet.
meet.
Punch
Don't
N
forget,
on the console
whatever
to
he
target
says.
nearest nav point. Use the numbers across the top of the console to manipulate the throttle. Set it to half by hitting 5. Pull the mech to the left with your joystick and line up on nav alpha. Follow the arrow on the compass at the top of the HUD to find it. Line up
This is
those
fully playable
indicators
now. The
across-
texture on the wall floor looks
Engaged.
interesting, but
Autopilot disabled.
going to nav point, so I remember being impressed not
Once
just from
you
the
hit
Voodoo
nav
thing, but
alpha, the next nav in the sequence, nav beta will load automatically. Look up at the heading indicator. You'll see that nav beta is off to the right. Head for nav beta.
full speed.
Okay, wet nose. Now here is a real tough one. Flip
This
on the
is
autopilot by
certainly more than
indicator.
playable. I mean,
Notice how the mech
I'm sure
will
during heavy
automatically
combat
follow
and
the
lots of
nav
stuff on the
sequence
screen, it's going to go
camera
pretty slow.
while on autopilot.
No joystick connected to this one, just the keyboard, so. Union foil?
Good work, wet nose. Mission almost accomplished. Hit A to disengage the autopilot, set throttle to 1, and await instructions from TC. You drive like a freebirth, Cadet.
Autopilot engaged. Autopilot disabled. Incoming message. Training command. Proceed to Nav Delta and dock at Mech Bay 5. Mission successful.
Successful. Hey, alright. Huzzah! I can drive the mech. I mean, this I think was fairly impressive. I don't know if this game was first for
Okay,
DOS,
scrub. Follow me to the mech handler.
and then Windows 95, or was it always
I have a
Windows
feeling
95?
you drive like a Sibco reject, but I can still find it in my giving heart to put you to the test. Line up between
Attitude.
the flags at Nav Alpha and await my go.
But probably not run into the instructor, right? That's probably bad. Hey, where's Nav Alpha? Whee! Descent 2 ran pretty
You will
well,
be
actually.
timed
I
on the
mean,
course, so keep your throttle high in the straights. However, as you approach the gates, you will need to slow the mech to make the turn. Follow the line and slalom the pylons. You think you can handle it, wet nose?
wet nose. I resemble that remark.
Mission failed.
False start, labor boy. Training is over for you, wet nose. Report to training command and tell them to send MechWarriors instead of freebirth laborer toads. Get
My
out of my
goodness.
face.
Harsh. It's great working on shoot stuff. Yeah, let me do shooting first. Yeah, so the Descent 2 I think ran just fine. I mean, honestly, put in perspective what it is, it ran fine.
Okay, Toad. Follow me to Nav Alpha on the gunnery range. It is time to see how you handle a mech weapons system. Keep your shots true, scrub, and do not even think of making a mistake. You have live rounds in that mech.
Yeah, now here I think this would be more than playable. Now, I'm sure it gets very sluggish when you get into combat and things like that, but beyond that, I think this would be more than acceptable for actual play. And we'll do terminal velocity as well as another one that runs quite well with effect texture filtering on and everything.
Proceed to Nav Beta. Shoot the stationary target, scrub.
I don't know how to switch navs.
approach the targets if you find them difficult to hit. Your secret is safe with me. I will not tell a soul of your incompetence. Trust me. In this mission, you may find the optical magnification function useful. The Z button on the left of the cockpit increases the value of the zoom.
Look at that.
Shift Z decreases the value.
External camera engaged.
Yeah, I shot stuff. And that's weird. I remember, wasn't the Voodoo version of this too not having any textures? I remember being flash shaded as well, which was pretty cool, but I don't remember it having,
Nice work for a free birth. Now go to Nav Gamma and shoot the moving targets.
Oops.
Shutting down.
Shut down the whole thing. I don't know what to zoom in.
External camera engaged.
It probably supports everything then. I mean, it was a very bundled game, right? So... it's pretty impressive what they did with what they had available here. Ah, come on. Like several hits and everything. I'm sure my instructor will be very happy with my my score here now. Really? There we go. First try. The MechWarrior 2 definitely is, I think, not necessarily a high point for the S3, but I mean, it's absolutely playable. I don't think the capture is reporting this as 1024, but I have some doubts about that resolution, I suppose. Could be, yeah. It looks sharp enough. Evil things. I don't think a mech would move this much. I do like in this game, it really does feel like you're piloting a mech. It's like it has all the trimmings around it, so it feels like you're moving a...
Well done. Now line up between the flags at Nav Delta and prepare to run the gauntlet. Await my go. Remember, this course is designed to train you in the use of independent torso twist while shooting. You will not finish if you do not twist your torso to fire upon the targets. The red flags at Nav Epsilon mark the end of the course. To be successful, you must not only destroy all the targets, but you must also finish under time.
External camera engaged.
No pressure. Can I start?
Good. On my mark. 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
My laser's not effective. I think I'm going too fast.
Mission failed.
You have
Oof.
failed the gauntlet, Freebirth, which, having met you in person, is not at all surprising. Try the mission again tomorrow. Keep your throttle above half and the legs straight. Destroy all targets.
Mission failed.
Harsh. Yeah, whatever. Can I get into combat now? This is very reminiscent of, you know, your TIE fighter and... there we go. Combat, cockpit controls. Alright. How do I get out of training? You don't leave. There you go. Ready room. Just gonna ride into combat. Alright. I was trying to focus on their real world stuff, so... Yeah, it is. I don't have anything hooked up to this computer. Too much work to do that. Now, this game, I think, will be very well suited for using a flight stick, of course, because, I mean, you can have an independent movement and all that stuff. But, more natural with the keyboard. Give me something to shoot. Destroy the HPG uplink at Nav Alpha. Launch!
Planet Colmar.
Hey man, this looks
Ambient temperature
just dandy.
45.60 degrees. Local time is 19:34:23 GST. All systems nominal.
Enemy helicopter there. Too bad I don't remember how to do my combat variables, fleet to Windows, graphics. That. There we go, flat shading. It looks like it's handled it just fine. It was quite nice. Alright. Alright, whole bunch of changes. But I don't know. Don't know where the waypoints are. That's fine, we'll just run around. I remember when I got this game. Oh, we got another mech coming in. Bullseye. It always, I mean, these games are impressive, but it always felt like you're piloting something, you know, huge or whatever. I think I destroyed you.
Enemy mech destroyed.
There's something else coming on the radar here. There's one. Overwhelming firepower here. There we go. Waiting for my stuff to cool down.
Enemy mech destroyed.
That's the waypoint. Took a little bit of beating there.
External camera engaged.
Whoa! Just a little bit, yeah. Going all in. I'm gonna destroy that. Yeah, because it's hard for me to get into, like, it's a simulator game, right? You gotta keep, you know, an eye on your heat and all that stuff, and I just blasted everything.
Nav
have another-
Alpha reached.
Another bogey here somewhere. It's pretty cool. It's like, you know, gives you access to what to, kind of how to tackle the objective here. I think I have to wreck this thing. There's a lot of stuff there.
Primary
Whoa.
objective: destroy HPG uplink. Successful.
Validated. I'm gonna wreck it. I have several of those, like, mech games. There's some that are, like, heavy gear and stuff like that. I think they're a little faster. Oh my, the Saturn core, I think, is still, like, in very early alpha, so that one has a little ways to go. We will stream eventually, but I like to see that one a little more baked, so... Anyone want to look up how to change waypoints? I have no idea. Let's select the waypoint. I guess I should listen when he talked about the waypoint stuff.
Image enhancement.
Oh, cool.
Engaged.
Battle zone.
Image enhancement. Engaged.
There's an installation over there. Let's go over there and wreck it. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Perfect. Nav beta. That's cool. That's, gives you the feel of being in a mech, and if I was into mechs more at the time, I probably would have played this a lot, but I think a lot of these games that are simulation heavy, eventually I just wasn't very good at them, so I just started having problems, and then that made it hard to continue, so. It dropped me in here without any backup at all. We got some more things coming in here. This is a Vectra VL5 200, I think.
Enemy target destroyed. Enemy target destroyed. External camera.
I don't know how to display the...
engaged. Nav beta reached.
There we go. Did I wreck it? Cool down. Yeah, heat management is, of course, super important in this game. And yeah, you think about, like, you know, yeah, whatever, it's like, doesn't look as good as, you know, modern games and all that, but
Primary objective:
this is
destroy
pretty impressive.
communications array. Successful. Proceed to dust-off zone for extraction.
I think we completed a mission. Holy buckets. Yeah, there's a way to link in all this stuff. Oh. Okay, I have a lock on here. Oh, yeah? Alright, thanks for stopping by, Sukra. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's basically it on some of these.
Enemy mech destroyed.
Oh,
Heat
yeah.
level critical. Secondary objective successful.
I think we destroyed all the ones. Yeah, the weapon, the sounds are not great, but I don't know if you want to play some of the later MechWarriors. I remember buying MechWarrior 4 and playing it just a little bit, thinking it was really cool. And I like the idea that you're managing stuff too, and have to worry about salvage and stuff like that. I kind of feel like it's been a core component of the MechWarrior series in general.
Nav gamma reached. Mission successful.
Yeah, mission successful. I didn't even die or anything. All right. Successful. Territory objective. Destroy targets of opportunity. Fail. Well, I destroyed just about everything. The Kajik is pleased with your actions in the field. Well, yeah. Well, I'm glad I come recommended. Huzzah. Not dishonor the wet nose there. Alright, let's MechWarrior 2. Let's try something else. There's a lot of these that are interesting as far as, like, you know, 3D games or first-person games like that. So we'll do a racing game next, I think. Alright, Revenant, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time. And eventually, I suppose I will get that computer. I don't know. I'm gonna have too much to drink or something. Looks like pod. Yeah, some random stuff gets dropped unknowingly. You never know. The filter is just uncontrollable. Now, pod looks pretty good in S3D or in normal MMX software mode too, but it does play decently well here. Now, you don't get the same like smoothing as you get with the glide stuff, but it does play quite well. Now, I installed it with the S3 mode. S3 mode. Oh, fine. But I don't... There's no way to set it once you have it installed. The weird thing with pod is that it basically just installs the version that you want, and that's it. There's no way to configure it after the fact. It just runs. So here's, you know, here's the game, and that's it. There's nothing to configure here for graphical is unchecked, so can't do anything. Yeah, that's one of those games that just doesn't seem to... sure. I think we decided that you want to increase speed, right? Max out speed, and that really is what gives you the most, right? You don't do one button at a time. Come on. Ah. Yeah, it would be fun to do. Overpay for my dream machine, yeah. I'm going on vacation here soon, too, with all the kids and everything. I'm like, honey, I think we're going to have to cancel that one leg of the vacation because, you know, I need that one computer. He's joking, but Remnant's working hard at it. Nothing like trying to invite other people's financial ruin. It's interesting with the retro stuff like that. It's like there's so many people watching that computer, and we'll see when people eventually, someone eventually is going to pull a trigger and decide that, you know, they've waited too long or they have had too much to drink or whatever it might be. Okay, there we go. Maximum speed. Where's the map going here? So yeah, it doesn't look very different from software mode here, so that's why I want to double check a few settings to see if there's any way to configure. Whew, yeah, we got top speed, everyone. Oh my goodness. Playing as a Bowser, okay, this is hilarious because the top speed is just like, see you later, nerds. Ooh, yeah, we got some graphical corruption. There's got to be S3 mode. Oh my, this is gonna end poor. I picked the right stage for having maximum speed, huh? Oh my goodness. Oh, ow, 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 ow. Oh, that's unfortunate. I don't know which way I'm going now. Thanks, wrong way. I think I picked the wrong stage for this. I'll take a look and see, because, yeah, I don't think... Let me exit the game again. Oops, that's not what I want to do. there is nothing to do. So what Revan is talking about is when I was younger, Equita, it's in French too. When I was younger, my first real computer, besides what was a hand-me-down, was Pod 2.0. S3 card, there we go, 1. So I think that means that we have S3 card installed. The first real computer I had was a compact Presario CDS, all-in-one 510, I want to say. It was like a 4633SX. And it was one of those all-in-ones with the monitor and the speakers on the side, and they've become very popular as a collector's item lately. And I always wanted one again because that was very nostalgic for me, of course. But, you know, they didn't survive, many of them, with the CRT baked in. That was kind of doomed. So Revenants took it upon himself to keep an eye out for one, and one actually showed up. A 524 is on eBay right now for $700 plus shipping. Or shipping is free, sorry. But A, that's a crap load of money for one retro computer, even if it's my quote-unquote unholy grail. And then B, would that survive in shipping? So you might be paying a lot of money for something that's neat, but at the end of the day, implodes. I think we can maybe do... Okay, never mind. It might implode as it's being transported. So, it's one of those, like... In other times, maybe, I might have just YOLO'd it and gone for it. But yeah. So that would be really neat to re-experience that computer and cover it and everything, but it is just so ludicrously expensive. Let's pick a track that's maybe not flying out the... This one was good. Long, nice straight here. Oh, for Pete's sake. I guess you can save this, huh? You need to load something? No. Yeah, so that's the thing. It is one of those, like, it might be nice to just YOLO it or whatever, but at the same time, that's a very, very risky purchase for that amount of money. If it was like $200, $300, $400 even, I might have just done it. But it is so much that if that explodes in transit, if you will, which is high risk too, because you're talking about CRT and brittle plastic and everything. And it's really quirky too. It has like only ISA slots, stuff like that. I actually have a Packard Bell all-in-one that's very similar. A Spectria 200, I think. I did a live stream years ago on that when I got it, and it's still on my list to cover. And it's pretty darn close. I mean, it's basically like the Packard Bell equivalent. And the speed. Okay. Okay, now let's try this. You can find that locally. I think that would be the biggest thing. It's just, you know... Okay. Yeah, they do have the, they do have the all-in-ones as well. Oh my goodness, the speed is hilarious. Up me way. The, knee speed, yep. I mean, this runs... I think Pod is one of those games that runs on... As long as I have powerful enough CPU, this game will run on, like, almost everything. But the S3 mode here doesn't bring a lot of it, since there's no texture filtering or anything. Whee! I mean, it's accelerated best I can tell, but that's about it. Pod has always been, like, an odd game to me, because it's just so round. I'm still accelerating. Later, losers. Oh, we gotta turn it up a little bit so you can hear the sewing machine engine here. Yep. It looks fine, but I don't think that there's a lot to gain here from software mode, and that's where I think a lot of the accelerator thing comes from. Yeah, my acceleration is so slow every time I turn. Whee! You know, it might run great in software, and then you run with the acceleration mode here, and it's actually worse than it was before, so... I remember the big thing with Pod was that, like, it was MX Enhanced. That was the biggest thing. It would be, like, the next generation of games. And, at least from my perspective, when I played it for someone, Well, I didn't have an MMX processor initially when this came out. I tried to demo, I think, and I didn't have MMX. And that felt like a big deal, but it turned out not to be that big a deal in games, even though they sort of touted it as such. Anyone ever played a game that had MMX instruction set that was, like, vastly different? Or, like, improved? Because this is a poster child for me when it comes to MMX enhancement, so... Whee! Yeah, someone was saying a nice day earlier and everything, and that swished right by me before I figured it out, so... I'm smart like that. Just looks like a big turd, doesn't it? Turd with wheels. That's, you know, it's an interesting game. I know LGR is a big fan of this too. I never really played it that much, but it's a fascinating game. I don't think Sukra's gone on, but I think he actually covered it fully. I do have the box for it. I had to get in a lot at one point. But yeah, the biggest thing I remember above all was that the MMX thing was such a big deal. Top speed is definitely the one to have because you can really just outdrive your opponents. Okay, so there are some games that do take advantage of it and actually has a actual difference in the game. Yeah, I'm getting into more, especially if we're talking like random computers now that are, you know, it's fun to do the max power and everything, but I've gotten really a big kick, and I keep mentioning it, messing with machines that are, you know, not the fastest or more fun or like quirky, you know, whatever. Yep, 4 megabytes. So yeah, we're definitely not. This could, you know, only play so much, especially with the I mean, Master Virge to begin with. So we're not dealing with the top of the line here for starters. So you know. But as we've seen, there are certainly games that are playable. The question then is, the ones that are playable, is it worth playing it in not software mode, you know? That's a lot of cards. Yeah, it's like a good Socket 7. Now, I did find, I was mentioning in Discord here, someone on the Vintage Computer Swap thing Facebook group, which is a good one to be... be part of. Some gentleman had new old stock cases he was selling, and one of them was a very nice looking 90s beige case. So I managed to grab that, and that will be the basis for my Super Socket 7 build that I'm finally hoping to put together. That will make a full video at some point, but that will be a full build then with a K62 550 Super Socket 7, of course, you know, 256 meg RAM or something equivalent. 128, doesn't matter. You don't need a lot of memory for that. And then the Banshee, probably. And I was thinking about a sound card because I wanted something a little off the beaten path and not have a standard. Just a Sound Blaster Live is, of course, very good for a Windows 98 build. But it would be interesting more to do, you know, I have a weird Aztec sound card, an ISA card. That would be neat. Or I might do a Oriole Vortex 1 card or something like that. It's a little interesting, you know. That's not a standard Sound Blaster Live, because Sound Blaster Lives are good cards. Yeah, that's what I was wondering too, and Yamaha seems like that's the one that everyone seems to be talking about, so that might what I'll be able to do. Just, well, you can kind of tell from this, like, we have a Banshee, a K6, a Super Socket 7. It's just a little bit of a quirky build versus, you know, P3, you know, a newer Voodoo card or GeForce card or whatever, and it's a very stable, strong machine, but there's something interesting with the other one. We'll try different random tracks, huh? Gotta say, it's a very technical, slow track. This will not go well. Oh. Yeah, because I'm more than open to having an ISA card for either just, you know, DOS and Windows 98 and everything, but we'll see. You know, Mike Boy? They're definitely struggling now with the... We're still doing pretty well with our top speed racer here on the extremely short and technical track. There's 1 out of 8 laps, I'm not sure we can complete that, but... I believe the S3 adds some pretty neat, like, sky textures in some of these stages, too. And for those not keeping tabs here now, I mean, most of you are already, but we're running with S3 acceleration with the S3 API 3D stuff with mixed results. Some games run quite well. Some games run horrible. And some games, or most games, run alright, I think is what it comes down to. It's fine. It's not a Voodoo card, it's just no way around it. And I think that's the biggest thing with when Voodoo came out, of the first Voodoo cards, they just, like, there was nothing like it, you know, it just blew everything else out of the water. And that made them cement their dominance for quite a while with 3DFX, owned like freaking 80% of the more of the 3D accelerator market. There is not, no. There are no settings you can change, at least none that I can, because the graphical options button is grayed out. And that might be a setting to do with it running in the S3 API. There are no settings you can change on it. We can poke around in the menu, but like as soon as we set the S3 on, there's nothing you can change. We can look in the API or the config file, maybe. So that makes it a little challenging. Now, runs, I would most certainly play a game like this with this frame rate. No problem as a kid. But now, this game would be a lot better, especially considering you're accelerating now. But we're using an acceleration on, you know, lowly S3 Virge 2D/3D card. So, and at this era, something to consider too, when the Voodoos came out, I mean, whoops, that's the wrong way. Come on, hit the brakes. Why can't I back up? Or 8 out of 8, yeah. Well, I was driving good there, but I just can't keep up with my super slow PC here. Come on. Or I went the maximum speed on this car, and that's probably not a good idea. I was doing pretty well there to realizing I was in last place. Oh well. Yes, I saw. You were doing really well until everyone died. There we go. Come on. Come on. That's the same spot. All right. Well, let's check. Because there was an ini file. There's nothing I can do with the settings in there, but we can check the ini file and see if there's anything we can tweak in there. Yeah, there's Ubi setup, but I can't run that. And the Ubisoft game is really weird, because look at this. There's no executable here. But it calls, basically, Ubisoft Play Pod 2.0. So, this is where the DLL file is. It's really, really odd. So, let's see. We have MMX 1, memory 95, SD card 1. We could change that to 0. And the directory is valid, blah, blah. Installed products. Oh, look at that. It looks like we have a few settings down here, but it doesn't... I don't know what that means, though. Display mode 0. We could probably reduce view size, maybe. Sound effects volume. Mode camera, camera low, camera high. I don't even know what all those means. But I am a little curious. If we do this, we run software mode now. See if it plays, if it likes that or not. Yeah, you're probably right. That sounds about right. Now it's software mode. So, maybe? Do we see any difference at all? And we see if the graphical options still only... Yeah, completely grayed out. I'm not sure if that actually works or not, if it lets us do... We'll see what it looks like now.
4, 3, 2.
There's no difference. It's hard to say. I think, unfortunately, the... It looks like it runs more sluggish now. This must be software mode now. It sure feels to me... It might be the stage geometry is much more complex, but it sure feels to me like it's running a lot more sluggish now. Maybe that's just me. There was no smoke there when I was doing a hard turn. Before, there was a little bit of tire smoke, actually. I think it was running S3 acceleration there. I don't think we have that weird dithering either. Yeah, it's a Pentium 1 200 with MX, yeah. I forgot to put MX there. Oh, that was Tire Smoke, alright. Oh well, we can try another different game now. But I don't know if that's... Well, maybe did it even... I maybe not have saved it. Okay. Let's try one more time. One more time. And we'll see what other game we play. There's a few other games that run pretty well. Pod doesn't run bad or anything. This is a completely different PC. Oh yeah, they have a different resolution and everything. Oh yeah, this is definitely software mode. I don't know what had graphical options here, and it doesn't do anything. It feels chunkier, right? It feels a lot chunkier. Doesn't it? I'm just imagining it. Like, this feels software-ish to me, but... That's the thing, the S3 acceleration here is just so minor. It's hard to tell for sure. Compared to Glide, then it would smooth everything out, and... Yeah, exactly. So it's fully functional. So the story on this machine, I'll get to your question there in just a second as far as how many machines I have, is that... Whoa! Yeah, this feels very software-like. Not a little loud there, too. This machine, I realized as I meant to do that. Get back up there! No. As I was trying to do the S3 thing, I realized that the machine I had planned for had a Voodoo 2 in it as well and had some other problems, and it was Windows 98, and a lot of the patches for this S3 stuff seems like it's adapted for Windows 95. So I realized that, and I also remembered that I had this machine that I had been trying to get a Riva 128 that ended up, the card was not good, it didn't work. I spent like a week trying to get it to work, but this machine had Windows 95 installed on it, all stuff done on it. It just didn't have a video card in it. So I threw in the video card from the K62 and did this just to get it running. And here we are. So, woo! And then as far as the number of machines, I mean, that's the thing. I always like having a set amount of machines that I can use. I like to be able to go into my storage room and just, I need a P2 or P3 for this week's stream, I can grab it. Now, I have a set amount of machines that I normally have all the time. Those come in this array right now, but as far as like ready to go machines, I mean, I probably have like a dozen or something like that, I'm guessing, at this rate. 10-ish, maybe, of different eras and different varying degrees. And then some peripheral machines that are kind of swapping parts all the time or messing around. And it's just, you know, kind of the eternal curse of retro. You just can't stop messing with it, right? So I always aim to have a set number of machines that are good to go. And then some machines that I can mess with. And that's been hard because often I want to mess with the machines I want to have solid, if you will. I want retro streaming rigs ready to go. But if I keep taking them apart, which I have right now for the current video I'm working on, that's the problem. So yeah, thereabouts. And that's what my coworkers say too. They're like, you know, my museum or whatever. But I don't have that many machines set up all the time. Like, it's just, you know, people are swapping around. So I like to get that. I want to have a stable of machines that are good to go. And apparently I drive better when I'm just rambling. And then I want to have a set of machines that I can just kind of tinker with, or like, hey, I need to test this video card on the P3. I don't want to have to dig out the P3 I use for streaming. And break it apart just for like capturing something, right? So that's what I'm hoping to do, is set up that sort of system. And then especially getting the motherboard I have here now, which is a VIA chipset, but it's a slot or a socket 370 with a universal AGP on it. I do not have a universal AGP, but it needs a recap. It has popped caps on it, but I just got it today, courtesy of Chris from RetroTech Chris, so very much appreciated for that. and I'm going to see if I can recap it. So that's the next project after the video is done. So yeah, this has got to be software, right? But now I'm just playing the game like it is, and we'll switch to a different game here in just a second. One that runs pretty well. I think we'll play Terminal Velocity next. It's a game I really enjoyed, and it looks quite interesting in S3. Surprisingly good in S3, I have to say. Yeah, now we're just racing in software mode. Yeah, Athlon XP would be nice too. I do have Athlon XP. I have one right here. That's my Windows XP machine, which is the one I've streamed on before. It automatically went back to 1. I don't know. I don't know, guys. It's a weird one. But yeah, let's do Terminal Velocity, because that one runs actually pretty well in S3 mode. It takes a long time to load. I don't know why. It just takes a long time to load. And I think that's an interesting thing, is like, we all focus, I think, a little bit on different eras. Many of us are generalists. I like all computing eras. But it's, for me, it's definitely that mid-late 90s, right? That's the golden time for me, because that's kind of my formative years, and when I tinkered and played with a lot of stuff. So, you know, your 95 to 2002 kind of thing. There's so many cool experiences, and that was kind of the golden era of PC gaming, right? So this game has phenomenal music. Now, we're playing with a specific S3 version here and a wrapper. You pretty much have to do this to get it to work. So we basically have S3D SVGA settings. You cannot change the settings. It's SVGA. You can change the debris, I think, to normal. Filtering on-off, so we can do that. Sky texture on-off, so we can turn off some settings to make it run faster. We'll see how the game runs. I think it runs decent with the full settings, but this is a game that kind of wants smoother as well, so it may not, you know, play great. So, yeah, and that's like just such a cool era there, and there's so many things to. Yeah, that's true. Playing in epic mega games, the music is too good. Yes, sorry, I saw you chat about it, and then I got off on a tangent, but I did see that. I haven't tried it yet, the Super Game Boy. I'm excited for that too, because one of my favorite games on the Game Boy is the Donkey Kong game, and I played that on my Super Game Boy. So there you go. Again, really cool music, and you're seeing it here now with S3 acceleration in all its glory. Look at that. Filter textures and everything. It's definitely slow there in some spots. I'm not sure if you can tell. It's moving so fast right now, but there's still that checkerboard or dithering pattern that shows up in certain spots. But even in this full setting here, it's definitely... So what it does, the method is, and if you look at the description on the video, there is a article from Control Reese where he details a lot of these settings. And what it does is that it basically launches a wrapper executable that then calls a game executable. So that's how you launch a lot of these games, because otherwise, and that's more for the detection of the S3. A lot of these games don't detect the presence of the S3 Virge DX, which is technically one of the later Virge cards. And we can try, I'm curious, if we set the off, I can't change that. We'll do off. We'll see when the demo starts again now here, how that looks. Yes, this game is extremely heavy on the fog. It's an interesting game, and I never owned or had this, and I love a big box of it, but it's pretty desirable. But the shareware version, I played that a lot on my Pentium 100, and had a lot of good times with it. There we go. Let's see how the demo runs now. Not at all. There we go. So now it looks more like software rendering. It looks a lot like software rendering. And now the question is, why not just play this in software mode? Boy, you have wobbling pixels. That's fascinating. That's just got to be the perspective correction that the S3 does, right? I did not realize, or textures, yeah, wobbling textures. For those not familiar with the... Oh. It was much faster until it crashed. Alright. We're still gonna run with the cool stuff on. Because we're cool like that. Ah, yes. Yeah, I said, like, I really enjoyed... I do really, yeah, you can't. It's just high res and that's it. There's no way to change it. Oh, it just has a backstory. I didn't realize. I played the, shareware version a lot. Barna Star. But yeah, that's weird. I did not realize warping texture was a thing outside of the PlayStation. That's very common there to see warping textures. Because of the PlayStation 1 era, that's how the PlayStation rendered textures, and that's just something you're used to. The music is so cool. Whatever. Oh, yes. Slow. You see a huge blob around the texture there, too. But I like the, Whoa, just afterburn into a tree. And what happens? I like to kind of like, you have to do like kind of like a scorched earth thing here. You have to like fly around and just blow up everything. And it's very cathartic. I'm not sure if I'm saying that word right, but feeling to this game because you kind of just fly around and just blow everything up, you know? And place, very much like, you know, your Descent, whatever, you can do barrel rolls and turn around on a dime and 6 degrees of freedom. Pick up power-ups. I don't know. This scratched a very, very specific itch, I think, for me. Afterburner. Well, that's one way to take care of the bad guy. He just flew into me. I never played this accelerated, and I'm not sure what other accelerators it does support, but... Woo! Do barrel roll. There we go. Take that, trees. I mean, yeah, it's not fast, but it's certainly more than playable. Trying to look up the radar blips here. I like the fact that it does this with the map. It's really cool. It overlays it like that without being just directly intrusive. Target destroyed. And then there was a sequel to this, right? I mean, sequel or spiritual sequel, but was that Fury 3, I think? That was basically the spiritual sequel to... He's running definitely not that fast right now here. Into the clouds. Yeah, now it's definitely running pretty slow. But you can get into these by blowing them up. Oh, look at the texture moving there. Can you just fly straight into it? Oh, I guess you can. I thought you had to open it up first. Oh boy, down here is definitely slow. Ugh. I don't know, something satisfying with this game, but I probably, if I were to just sit down and play this, I probably would just go with software rendering instead. It's got more of a charm to it, I guess. Ion laser, nice. Who built this? Really, who built this? Full speed, must go faster, must go faster. Wow, it is really struggling here with that close-up texture here, work here. Shield restore, thank you. You can tell there's a loading section there, so loaded new environments. Ooh, more things to blow up. Yeah, I don't know. It really... Target destroyed. It really is a satisfying gameplay loop. It's not deep, but it's satisfying. Power core. Great. I probably did something. Just keep sending in things like this. Yeah, probably. It's got S3 power. Can't contain the S3 power. Thank you very much. I don't think there's a lot of extra power to be gained by having an overpowered CPU. You're running into the issue above all with the API. It's just not optimized to begin with, right? It's just, you know, died before it really had a chance to really come with its own. Yeah, I'm not sure if it could be. I mean, that's the fascinating thing. I think I saw someone was overclocking this and running it on a E3 or P4 or whatever, and that, you know, that gives you as much performance as you can get, but it's not good still. You know, it's not CPU limited, I think, basically what it comes down to. Mission complete. I'll roger that. But I have no idea where my exit point is. See you later. That's a tunnel. Oh, this is like brutally slow, but it's accelerated, so. Weapon. Hack. Alright, so where might the level exit be? Oh, we're over the clouds now. Whoa, that's a wall. That's a mountain. Well, this is a problem. I don't know if I'm going up or down. This has to be the sky, right? There's a mountain. Found it. Found the ground. Yeah, that's the thing. The game is pretty awesome, but it is in pretty short bursts because it does get very samey. Just don't know where to go now. I guess I should follow the radar. Oh, there we go. See you later. Later, losers. Yeah, I think that it's S3. These Virge cards are fantastic retro cards in a sense. they're great for your, you know, your 2D and stuff like the pair grid, Voodoo card. But as far as like a primary accelerator card, that's, you know, that's. You can do it frozen in between here. Oh, tunnels found 100%. And then goes right into the next one with the same music. And then you do the exact same thing again. It's not a deep game, let's just say that. It's very arcadey, of course. That's what it's trying to be, but... I wonder if we... Can we do one of the other worlds? Yeah, exactly. I think that's in the perspective. It's like, I think it's easy to sit there and goof on these cards that they're really slow and everything, and it's admirable they tried even to do acceleration on these. But, yeah. You know, it is what it is. It's still neat. Okay, so now with different music here. It's like a sandy theme, I guess. I can use the waypoints, I guess. You're gonna be lame like that. Like a 3D Command & Conquer here now. I don't think I have Unreal on here. Because you're basically asking it to direct 3D at that point. That can be arranged. I mean, Unreal would work in software mode, but I wonder if we can make it work. I don't know if there is an S3 patch for directly, otherwise it would run in direct 3D mode. There we go. I think something to be said for DOSBox and all that good stuff, so let's see if I have... Don't know if I have just Unreal straight up here. Actually, don't have Unreal straight up there. I think I have a CD for it. It has native support for that? I could have sworn. I was looking up at the list and everything of games. I didn't know if it did that. 1 second. I'm going to look for my install disk for Unreal. Going an old-fashioned way. My broken jewel case here. This may be the ultimate test, so... Unfortunately, I think the CD drive doesn't want to stay close, so it's this is a machine that needs a little TLC, let's just say that. There, I think it stayed close with a little bit of encouragement from my foot. Yeah. I don't think this might be a good experience, but we can give it a shot. I mean, this is a game that probably likes best to be on a P2 or P3, and then like... I need DirectX 5. I already have 9 installed. Nice. I see what you did there. The algorithm, like, oh, I don't know what he's saying. Oh, well. Now the ultimate test here now. We'll give this a quick shot, and then see if it works, and then we'll play some other game real quick. But the other games I do have on here are confirmed to work with S3. I mean, Quake was a stretch, and I certainly equate Unreal with something newer than Quake, so... well, it might run super slow. I'm just curious if it is now. But I didn't realize it had that built-in support. Otherwise, you'd think it'd run just with, I was going to say, Direct 3D mode or OpenGL, right? I'm curious. I haven't tried PCM either, but I know that you now can do like Voodoo emulation and everything in there. And there's DD Voodoo and wrappers and stuff like that. So we've gotten really, really far in the emulation space. And something I want to try and mess with too. Sorry, it's not Unreal Gold. It's just regular. Sorry. But yeah. We're now asking a accelerator card from 1996, 1997-ish, with probably designed in 95, wouldn't surprise me. Then trying to run a game. When did Unreal come out? 98? With the most advanced 3D engine ever. Hyper-realistic environmental effects. Optimized for MMX and leading 3D accelerators. Well, this, my dear fellows, is a leading accelerator. Video system requiring PCI local bus video card. That's us. It also recommends a 200 MMX, which is exactly what we have, so we should be good. Yeah. But I want to do a stream at some point too. I think it would be fun to do an ode to software, or even a video, because we all go for this rendering stuff all the time, but like Unreal in software mode, or yeah, Half-Life in software mode, and Quake above all looks really good in software mode. There's a lot to be said for playing software mode games. I kind of want to try that more too. That's surprisingly amount of support there for everything, basically everything. But the question then is, the driver I have going to know to do this? We'll see. Not holding my breath, but if it runs at this point, like, performance is one thing. I understand it's not going to be fast, but if it runs successfully, I'd be impressed by that alone. The castle flyby may not be fast. But I think it's a neat thing to cover too, because other people have done it too, but we always look at the acceleration thing, so. Yeah, and it's funny that stretching out and getting the best or fastest to run on it is always such an interesting experiment. Sometimes that can go quite well, sometimes it's just like, no, and then the question is, would you get it? 1600 by 1200, right? And max settings? No. I will not read the release notes. I am risky like that. Hold on to your butts. Does it not create a... Is it actually installed? Just drop it directly in a directory? I always find fascinating that this is what the disc looks like. I have an official disc, best I can tell. It just looks extremely weird. I installed into games, but I'm a little surprised that it didn't drop the, the shortcut on the start menu. This is also fascinating. Parasite is another, like, Descent clone. Look at all the options there directly in the game. RVR, Rendition, Matrox 3D, ATI 3D. And you have to go into System then to go to the Unreal file. That's weird. Alright, let's see what happens. It's a trying. It's a trying. Yeah, no, I know where the executable is. I was still surprised it didn't drop a shortcut on the desktop or in the start menu. Like, I thought it would do a thing there. Purging garbage. 320 by 240. Let's see. I need to go to advanced options, and let's take a look at the drivers here now. Software rendering. Yeah, we do not have S3 in here by default. So if someone wants to find a setting or anything, because it is not in here. Unless there's a... I mean, that's got to be it, right? So... Unless there's a patch for it. Rendering. Yeah, software rendering, 3D effects, glide support. That's it. RVR. Yeah. Alright, thanks for stopping by, Bruce. See you later. I wonder if we do a quick Dr. Google. We may have to update it or something. Oh, we can just try and find the latest update. So this machine does not have a internet on by download files here. We'll just let the can I go to full screen? Yeah, I cannot. Really? Hmm. Yeah, won't let me target full screen, so I have a specific patch for it. Otherwise, I can find the latest patch too for Unreal. This is the release one, so yeah, I tried all to enter as well. It's not letting me. Oh, tournament, yeah. I'm finding the last official patch here. .226 apparently. Stand by. I already had it on my NAS, so never mind. All right, close out of that, and what I can do now, I actually had the patch already. What I do is I basically make a collection of updates here for games so I can have them available on my NAS, and sure enough, I already had it installed. This is the last available version here. What I'm going to do is copy it locally, because over network, that can be a little iffy sometimes. I can cancel out. So, driver, stop it in here, copy it. I rely on networking for my retro machines heavily. I copy everything over network, so I'm hoping to make a video on that sometime and just like show a little bit of how I have it set up, and above all, try and sell on the, networking is not complicated. And once you get it set up, it is really, really nice to be able to just do this kind of stuff. I can just drag files over if I needed to. I don't have to keep running with floppies and everything. All right, let's try that. It's on E, I think. Yeah. Okay, well, which drive is it then? F, sorry. I had to move my emulated drive, because otherwise some games wouldn't like it, so install. I am a retro prepper. I realized after having so many things taken apart and in pieces, I really, really enjoy being able to go into my storage area and like, I'm going to play on this machine and just grab it. Like, I really want to not have to mess with stuff. So that's where the network piece comes into play. So anytime I build a machine, the first order of business is getting network running on it. Even before drivers of anything else. If I can get network running on it, then I have to worry about running with floppies and stuff like that. So it saves so much time. The next step I need to do now is back that NAS up. Because that's the thing that I realized too. And I bought an external drive I was going to plug in to it and just run a backup job on it, because it's a Buffalo NAS, like with one drive in it. I bought it years ago, but it's old enough that it supports SMB1 and that kind of good stuff, which you buy a modern NAS now, it may not even let you disable SMB or enable SMB1 because it's pretty insecure. So you take a big risk doing that, but it depends on where it is. So what I did is I separated my retro network from my production network. Okay, why didn't I just hit run? Let's try Unreal this time. See what renderers we have. I think it probably gets the Unreal Tournament like renderer selection screen now. Oh, never mind. Ooh, look at that. That looks S3-ish to me. There was pixelation there. I think we're onto something now. software. Okay, never mind. S3 metal. It's metal. Hold on to your butts now. It's not like, alright, let's do a quit. And I'll start it again and see if it takes now. But I saw a distinct, like, dithering going on there, so... It's got metal on there now, but I'm not sure if that means anything. Still won't let me do full screen. Rendering. Metal. Metal renderer failed. Yeah, I don't think it's got to load. I wonder if I have to drop the driver for the S3. I have a feeling that the renderer is just not... Alright, thanks so bye, Solar. See you next time. Yeah, I'm not feeling hopeful right now, so... because we do have this one here. Drop this into the system folder here for this. Yeah, I think it's a Savage thing, isn't it? It's not relating to the Virge. That's going to work against us, I think. It's weird I can't go full screen, though. That's really weird. We can try a reboot, but yeah, I think that the metal driver is just not for the Virge, though. Might just be the settings here. We can also try and run it in direct 3D mode, right? So, an OpenGL. Alright, I can change resolution now, at least. Ooh, yeah, 640 by 480. Alright. I mean, it seems a little odd to me that if I can get into the game, we can look at some textures, because, I mean, there's no way software mode would it have that dithering. So, right? And that looks like the Verge did earlier. That's software mode? I mean, look at those textures.
Prisoners 849 escaping.
I don't know, there's no way to confirm that for sure, but I mean, what we can do is kind of look at this and switch back to software mode. See what it looks like. Doubt it's going to be immediate, right? It runs even slower now. Let's try and restart it again here. I'm intrigued. There's no way to know for sure that it's using the S3 for it. Is the software mode filtered on... We finally getting full screen? No. And we can try direct 3D. Yeah, I think that might have to be the next step. But it's a little bizarre that... Let's see what it looks like then. Yeah, it's got to be software there, but I didn't realize software had filtering on here, because I mean, look at the weird texture here now, what it does. It doesn't have the trademark blocky look to it. Let's try and switch to, whoops, not that. Display, not that one. Renderer, drivers. Let's see. Can I do Direct 3D? Yeah, this is a Pentium, in software mode, I'm running on a Pentium 1 200s, which is, like, it's funny because it's recommended. Now, not with that setting, of course. I wish there's a way to, unless there's a way to look in the console which renderer is using. The feeling is not liking this. Direct 3D support. Try and change some of these settings. That's impressive. I don't think I've ever played it. I don't think I've ever played Unreal in 2D. Or 2D. In let's disable all this and see what we get here. I want to see something changing. I have a feeling we're not getting out of software mode ever. But if someone knows a way to look and see sync volumetric lighting, let's turn that off. If anyone knows a way to see that in the settings menu. I have a feeling we're not exiting software mode anytime here. That's what it feels like to me. But I'm guessing it just knows it's not supported. Let's try init file here. Yeah, there we go. Probably the user settings, not the configuration settings. Sorry, system configuration. OpenGL drive, manifest, Unreal any. Renderer, direct 3D drive. I doubt it knows what to do, so. Let's do something really wonky here. We're going to force this here now. The way we're going to do that is using a wrapper. The way we do that is we basically just point it to use this and then unreal.exe. It tries to launch the wrapper first. And now we can't run in DOS mode. Can you try, please? I'm not trying to run in DOS mode. I gotta play nice, yeah. Yeah, something's definitely wrong with that. It should... I'm trying to call it, not run it. The S3D run is really made for DOS applications, technically, so it's not... Let's remove the DOS. It needs the DOS one. It's made for DOS use, so... Nope. a log file? I don't think so. Metal driver. Riva TNT. Rage 128. Yeah, OpenGL doesn't even list the... I'm not sure that OpenGL is supported on this. I think it's pretty much just the Direct 3D or... yeah, not looking promising right now for that one. Yeah, it really should be able to go into full screen, you'd think, so... Good morning, thank you. We're trying to run... We're using the S3 Virge accelerator card, which is accelerator card in the kindest way of the word. And we're trying to see if we can get Unreal to use that renderer, but I kind of doubt we're going to be able to do that. It's just not liking it. We have set it to different settings, and it's just not kicking in. We can do OpenGL support, but again, I sincerely doubt it's going to be able to pull that off. There might be a way to do with the wrapper to run the somehow to pick up on the S3 thing, but I think again the S3 metal is made for then, like we talked earlier about the Savage 4 and not the S3 Verge. So this may be ending in failure, but oh, is it gonna do OpenGL? I think it tried, but then it just... It's running, but oh my goodness, I think I think we did it. I think we're running in OpenGL on the Savage S3. Savage, the S3. Isn't it glorious? Isn't this everything you dreamed of when you bought a 3D accelerator card? I mean, unless I'm mistaken here, this is actually running with OpenGL. I'm not sure the resolution can be dropped any more than it already is. Haha. There's a lag time of like... of several seconds. Yeah, that's a wonder too. It could be. Is there a softer OpenGL? I doubt it's leveraging the... That's not what I wanted the video. Can it do OpenGL through software? Oh boy. I don't think the resolution thing is even selectable. I thought it had to be a... I'm not that well versed in the OpenGL stuff, so honestly, I shouldn't have been talking, but I can't even select resolution. Yeah, I saw that. That would be really good if they can get their hands on doing a proper like repackage and remaster. That'd be awesome. I would if I can do anything in the game. I can't even leave this game. You may never leave. They might have finally frozen. That poor card. I hear the hard drive doing stuff, but... Alright, nice resolution here, too. I don't know what resolution I set there, but... There we go, we're back. Alright, I think Unreal's not happening. That's a little too unreal, but there's an interesting promise there. The question is if it's ever possible, but I think that the promise, you pretty much need some sort of wrapper to make it know to look for that, and that's just not happening. So that's pretty much a non-starter there, but one that I do know works is Parasite, which it plays very much like I think I need a CD in for this one. Yeah. Fine. Which is another like floaty third person or inside the view. There we go. And yeah. Quake at least ran. That was playable. I played for a while there in Quake. This was extremely unplayable. I mean, software mode maybe, but this game actually plays pretty decent with it. And you have to run it at 512 for sure, even lower, 400 or something. But this is like a poor clone of Descent. Got it. Things. And it uses like nice little cool menus here, but 512 runs decent, you know. Destroy the computers. Yeah. There's a lot of these games from this era here now, it seems like, but this is probably the one I get a copyright mark on. That makes you like fly into an installation in the beginning of the game, which is pretty cool. Ooh, hello. This is my ship. Q is shoot. Take that. Well, thank you very much, David. Very much appreciated. Really appreciate it. Ah. It plays like a really weird Descent clone. But here it does, like, it is using the S3 API. Whoop, there we go. Because you select this specifically, and it's using the wrapper as well. I don't know what that did, but it's got some pretty groovy colors. Yeah, this game runs pretty well, actually, and I mean, there's pretty simplistic geometry and everything going on here. I just open up now. There's a lot of these Descent clones, huh? Yeah, you could die now anytime now. Craft repaired. It's like you got your Forsaken, and then this, and this is used all. This is kind of rapid fire photon. Got a very PlayStation vibe too. Maybe this came on a PlayStation. Oh, I really appreciate David. It's very kind words. And it's always fun, all of you hanging out here and chatting with me or listening to me ramble or complain about things not working or me dying over and over. Which, so far, I haven't died here yet, but I haven't played that far yet. Interesting game. And these variety streams are always a little interesting when it comes to, you know... Destroy grate. I am destroying grate. Where's the grate? The ceiling fan. Where's the grate? Where's the grate? Goes up and down. And see, it's like described as like, you know, kind of like. I like the compass in the bottom right corner. That's pretty cool. Otherwise, it's a pretty generic Descent clone. Well, this is trippy. Cool colors there. Based on all the arrows pointing to where I was coming from, I have a feeling I should not be going there. Pretty quiet right now, I guess, but interesting little techno soundtrack here. Whee! These colors are cool. This is a nice effect there. Very Forsaken-like to me. Was it just because of Descent's popularity, or what caused this kind of... Is that a thing I can break? That caused these kind of games to appear out of nowhere. Already blew them up. Look at that. You can even see outside the space station. That's pretty neat. Guess I shouldn't break that. What grade am I breaking here? Cool game. I have no idea what to do. Oh, that thing there? Found it. They can have a little escape sequence too. Oh, the air vents have so many enemies in them. Good thing these air conditioning vents are this huge. Oh, I don't know who you are. I don't know where my health is, so... It feels like the controls are similar to Descent, but dissimilar enough. It feels very off. Oh my goodness. So the color lighting is cool. I mean, it does very much have a... I did explodinated. It's alright, but it runs pretty well. So I think that's the biggest thing I wanted to show. This is an S3 accelerated game that runs okay. So there is that. So maybe we should try one more game. We tried a lot of them now. Tomb Raider is interesting. It does run with S3 mode. We can run that. You can see it's firing up the... or once I put the CD in. But it's interesting. I'll show you what it looks like. It is using a wrapper, so I know for sure it's using S3D here. Of course, start installation as well. But it, you know, it doesn't have the same like washed out feel that the blind version of Tomb Raider does. But it's something in between the software, and it's as soon as they, excuse me, they're missing out on the what's the detail levels. on. I seem to be missing out on the filtering. That's when it gets a little iffy. It's like, what are we exactly accelerating? And... okay, we got that kind of stuff entering chat now, huh? Let's see. Put user in timeout. Thank you. Remove. Yep, there we go. I guess we talked about Tomb Raider and immediately got to that kind of topic. You can see here running very, very smooth in the S3 mode here. Such frames. Whee! She's super excited about the frames. And not eaten by alligators. I don't know where to go. It's so choppy, I can't do anything. I'm trying! Can I get up here? Don't know why she's swimming to the bottom. Can I really not get up here? Yeah, so not running great here. You know, I'm at 512. I can probably crank it out to 400 or something, but... there's a ladder up there, right? No. Yeah, it has to be a water level, of course. Yeah, it's running smooth in the... this here. Oh, come on. Yeah, sorry, I have to moderate this thing, too. Game over. See if I can set the setting any lower. Thanks for clarifying. Detail level. 320 by 200. See what that looks like. If it's playable now. Now it looks like PlayStation. But you can see the dithering going on too again. It's weird. It's like a dithering checkerboard pattern. Which one's the action button? I know what the jump and swim button is. Whee! Oh, a very nice place to drop you in here. There we go, I got out now. Alright, where's my guns? The stupid crocodile. It's hard to play it like this, it's so poor. You can really see the dither. Oh, there. Stupid fish. I think you're in this tomb here in the beginning, so it is very, very dark. Unfortunately, that's just the way the way they made Tomb Raider, I guess. So I did not want to swim here, but I think I got the crocodile. There we go. I was basically just Laura. She just shoots everything. I'm a world-renowned archaeologist. Shoot it all. Whee! So here we get now to the point where playable enjoyable, and that's hard to say. I mean, it is playable. Oh my goodness, look at that warbly texture there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shoots her way through everything. I guess this is supposed to be the water texture there. Yeah, I think it started automatically with that, the unfinished business, so... Yeah, that was the thing. I remember that being a deal, too. Let's see, detail levels. Can't change the setting here. Oh yeah, it runs pretty poor. Let's see, I think maybe we have one more thing we can try, but exit the title. So it runs, but yeah. I don't think you can go to... Automatically goes to the gold content and not the basic one. Which does run again, but the question is if it's even, you know, worth doing that. So I'm trying to think of any ones that we haven't tried now. We've tried just about all of them. Yeah, you're basically down because the PlayStation 1 is 240p, right? So, and that was not that far off. We can try one game. I want to show this game mostly because I fought to get it to work, and it's working now. So I'm going to show this. This is Battle Cars, and, oh, it's a stream? There we go. And it's an interesting game. It really does, like, a whole bunch of, like, menus and everything, and we'll end on this game, but I fought to get this game working, so I just want to show it quick. Like a whole bunch of weird characters. Black Shadow. And it's not a game where I don't really know how to play it, so we'll see.
Welcome to the Riga Belts race on St. Helena 3. A dark and demanding course awaits you. Your vision...
Sure. Sly. It's another...
is just about to begin.
That's backwards. I remember finding the button for speed, but now I forgot. There we go. It's another floaty in the space thing. And it controls horribly. Very mechanical feeling. But running S3 mode, I know that for sure. Runs fast, but... what a weird game. That's what it comes down to. Like, you know, from a retro perspective, it's neat. But I don't know anyone would seek out to specifically play games in this mode, because there aren't that many that run well with it. Descent 2 is probably the best one we had, I'm guessing. Yeah, it's Battle Car or something. You just too, like, aggressive of movement, as you probably tell. I think it's like a space shooter racer thing. Slipstream 5000 vibes, maybe? It runs, you know. Runs alright. But I'm not sure there's much to... oh my goodness, 2 laps. Plonk. It's got this weird, like, DOS/Windows feel to it. Very DOS-like. But yeah, Slipstream 5000 is probably the most I recognize or feel this equates to, but it's so hard to steer. As you can tell, every time I tap the keyboard, there's a huge move every time. Trying to just not crash. If this was playing smooth, as far as controls go, it might be pretty good, but it's just very janky controls. Like they built the engine for this first and tried to figure out what the game was or something. Alright, there, I made it through. Yeah.
And here is the qualification result. Pilots are now preparing.
Fine. Let's see what happens when we get some other competitors in here.
4, 3, 2, 1, go! And here they go. Now look at this one. Black Shadow and Cassandra were caught in a dangerous collision. I don't believe that. What a hard collision between Cassandra and Stewart.
The commentator is cool.
Miles and Ritz were caught in a dangerous collision. Black Shadow is now on position 3. I don't believe that. What a hard collision between Simon and Ritz. Look at this. Ritz has to take a mighty blast. Stewart is now on position 2.
Commentator is pretty annoying. I think I have a weapon, but I have no idea how to use it.
Careful, buddy. You'll find something.
There we go.
Hit the wall. Look at this, folks. Da Vinci and Cyberkid were caught in a dangerous collision. I don't believe that. What a hard collision between Miles and Stewart.
How would you...
Look at this, folks. Black Shadow and Hitman were caught in a dangerous collision.
I think I'm shooting.
That's what I call bad.
And game over.
This ship won't through the
Yeah, neat concept, but there's so many of these, like, 3D hover shooter weird... Okay, okay.
Ritz is now on position 3.
You don't have to, like, rub my nose in it. Fine, we end on a locked game here now. Because I can't even, now I'm locked anymore. Well, that's a good place to end it, where the game just froze. But you can really see the dithering, blocky pattern happening there, so... What an interesting game. So, yeah. S3, fun thing. Again, check out the link in the description for Controlled Reese's very good article on the running all these games and everything. But yeah, it's a weird one. I wouldn't seek it out more than for the interesting anecdotal perspective. But as for actual gaming, I would go for software rendering any day. Or, you know, ideally with a Voodoo card or something, you know, anything else basically for actual gameplay. This is more like a footnote, but it's sad a little bit to see other manufacturers that never really got their API to take off. Like, because Glide just dominated. I mean, it was just became the one to support. And of course, we know Direct 3D and all that stuff took off, but for a while there, it was Glide or nothing. So, so this was not it, but it's still neat to mess with it. So there's that. That's what we do, right? But yeah, it's probably a good time to call it. You can see my ship destroy there. We'll let that stay there. And appreciate everyone hanging out. Thanks so much for all the generous donations. And we will never play with this video card again, ever. So enjoy this time here. And we'll figure out something else. We'll have something special planned for next week. So hopefully you guys can make it then. We may have a little bit of an earlier start time. But something special for GPU June next Thursday. So appreciate everyone watching, hanging out, chatting about horrible video cards, and hopefully see you everyone next week. Good night. Have a good one. Don't use this video card. Good night.